Sugar Creanie here, and happy blessed Thursday, and happy first day of October, and happy feast day of one of the doctors of the saints of our church, which is St. Therese of Avila. Awesome! And she is so young. She died young, but she is awesome sauce. She really just had that simplicity for the love of Jesus Christ, and we should just take that upon ourselves and try to apply that every single day of our life, meaning how we really do our acts for Jesus, like, through our actions, like how we love one another, how we show that love to other people around us, how we reflect Christ from our heart. Those are just the simplistic ways to show our love for God and show our love for Jesus. So I just want to really encourage you guys to do the exact same thing. So whenever God places any opportunities in front of you and it's like right there, take upon that opportunity and see where that leads you, and see how God's really morphing you into someone better. And you have to know between what is of God and what is not of God. So from what I heard in a talk video like a talk from a priest a couple of days ago, he was saying about 90% is noise of the enemy and 10% is of God. So you really have to know within your heart, like, what are your weaknesses and what triggers you, what makes you weak, what are your weaknesses, what are your temptations, and what can really rattle you up in terms of your trust, your hope, and your faith in Christ. And so that's why I take it seriously. When you know and recognize what is not of God, you know what to do right away. You send Jesus Christ and you send our Blessed Mother Mary over to the door where the enemy is knocking. And that way, the enemy will flee for now. That's how it is. The enemy will flee for now, but he will come around again to catch you off guard. And that's really key. We need to be alert, aware, and always ready for action against the enemy. No fail. So, with that in mind, please subscribe to my channel right here and ring the notification bell to get notified of any new videos that I upload for you wonderful people out there. My prayers will continually go out to you and your family during this time of pandemic. We are all persevering together. So really, when you think you are going nuts because of this pandemic, you're not alone. We are all in this together, and therefore we have to be all in this together, unified in prayer. Unified in prayer so that we will not become lukewarm in our faith. We will not become discouraged in our faith no matter what happens. And we will be fighting with full feistiness against the enemy during this time, especially because the enemy loves to feed upon that sense of fear right now, especially. So that's why we cannot be fearful. We cannot allow the enemy to attack us with that sense of fear. Rather, we have to run to Christ, run to God, run to our Blessed Mary, for that love, that assurance, that faith, that confidence, and that grace to be a true warrior for Christ and not being afraid to face persecution, no matter how hard it can be at times. So, with that said, and as I always say before all my videos, let's get started. Today I want to talk to you guys about following Christ. Yup. I mean it, because even more so during this time of pandemic, we have to take it seriously. We have to be able to not fall into those traps of the enemy of fear, despair, discouragement, and especially becoming lukewarm in our faith. And that's exactly what the enemy wants. So therefore, we got to follow Christ even more. We got to look to Christ even more. We got to look to our Blessed Mother Mary even more. We got to look to God even more for our strength and for our ability to not fail and to not fall into sin. And with that in mind, following Christ, I know it's very vague, but really I want to talk to you guys about a few points to really encourage you guys to not fall into those temptations, those weaknesses, and those traps that the enemy makes you feel like you're not good enough, you're doubting yourself, you're feeling inadequate. Those are the tactics that the enemy loves to use against us, making you feel inadequate, making you doubt yourself, making you doubt your capabilities, and making you doubt your trust in God's timing. Those are the 4 key aspects that so far I've learned in my life that we need to really recognize, that the enemy is just hanging out there, poking at you and making you feel restless, making you feel like, oh, Like, I'm not good enough for this. Why should I bother? And especially when you're trying to fight against the enemy even more, the enemy will fight even more to make you quit, right? And so, especially even more so when you try to become closer to Christ, even more so the enemy will find different deceiving ways to make you quit and make you feel distracted, especially, right? Doubtful, distracted, discouraged. You know, a lot of them start with D's apparently. So it's very easy for us to really be alert and for us to really remember that. And it's one of those things that we need to learn to live in Christian poverty. You know, following Christ is not easy. That's for sure. I can admit to that. But it's a journey that is worth it to the very end. The heavenly rewards cannot compare to what this world can offer us. A lot of us tend to escape in the world with materialistic things. God knows what else is there, but you know, there's nothing more than what Christ can give you in this world. Like his love, his grace, his mercy, his forgiveness. God's love, God's mercy, and God's forgiveness. Our Blessed Mother Mary is right there. You know, so that's why we need to have that great interior sense of detachment in the mind and in the will and in the imagination. We need to. That's Christian poverty in itself in order for us to follow Christ. In our greater interior sense in the mind, in the will, and in the imagination. Those three things. So really, we need to always remember that it's like when it comes to following Christ and knowing that you are following it genuinely, it's about having that mindset that you're generally not considering anything of one's own. Basically, you're putting others first before yourself. So therefore, acts of charity, those are fine examples. You know, soup kitchens, those are fine examples. And allowing yourself to share the wonderful gifts that God has blessed you with, those gifts and those blessings and those skills that God has uniquely blessed you with, giving that back to others for the glory and grace of God, that alone is already a wonderful way to show your love for God and a wonderful way to really tell God that I'm here. I'm trying to be one step closer to accomplishing your mission for the salvation of souls and allowing more souls to be closer to you, Jesus Christ, our Lord and our Savior. So that's why we need to live in that same spirit as Jesus did. Jesus did not come into this world to confine the truth to what the world wants. He really put the truth out there and he silenced the Pharisees and people and really made them think twice, like, oh. Right? It's just those mic drop sayings that Jesus always has as a final response. Even though Jesus knows that they are testing him, he knows what to say. Well, he's the Son of God, obviously. But we need to take it upon ourselves that he sets that fine example, that true fine example, to live in true spirit for God. Don't forget. Add on to that. Like, we need to use all the goods and the blessings that God gives us. We need to use it as a means instead of as an end in themselves, right? So essentially, if God blesses you with wealth, gifts, talents, skills, use it. Use it in every opportunity you can. Try to be proactive out there, you know, allowing yourself to really take upon those opportunities. And if God, you know, puts a blockage in whenever you try, that means God's trying to divert you just to a route that will make you a lot happier. You know, I can definitely attest to that. I have many examples, but I want to be prudent to keep my video short. So for sure, I've seen it, and I'm pretty sure you have. You look back in your past life with the different diversions here and there and the different detours, and at that moment you get frustrated, like, why? Like, I wanted this so bad, and then like God's just like, nope, I got a better one in mind for you. Or a better like wanting that you will truly be happy. And I've seen it. I've definitely seen it. And the moment when you finally like see it and God's like, in like your life, it's like, wow, okay, I see. Okay, shh, quiet down. And it makes you feel like that little cringe, like, why was I such a complainer back then? And that's why we just have to use all of the good means of all the blessing that God truly gives you, right? So again, proper use of wealth, proper use of gifts. Don't use all your wonderful talents and gifts for the glory of yourself. Remember, it's not that world trinity, me and myself and I. No, it's the Holy Trinity we gotta focus on and glorify for God's glory and kingdom and name. And that's why we need to really know that when we use our gifts or talents or skills and wealth for the good means and not for the end in themselves, it's fulfilling our mission and our vocation on earth. It is fulfilling our vocation and our mission on this earth. And we cannot slack our dedication. We cannot slack our dedication. We have to be very fervent. We got to persevere well. And we really got to trust and place all of our confidence in God, knowing that God's timing is the most perfect ever. So when you feel like God's really preparing you for something so awesome and so great, follow along that journey. When you feel that peace and when you feel that growth within your heart in virtue and in your own faith while you're praying for that specific prayer, then then God's like really pruning you, really purifying you for something so awesome that you're gonna love, that will definitely exceed your own human comprehension. And so that's why we need to be dedicated. We cannot allow ourselves to be that person dedicating and serving themselves to God, but then becoming consumed with worries of goods. And basically it's like becoming worried about your welfare, like financially and whatnot, because that in itself is a sign of lukewarmness, yes, in your interior life. We cannot be that person. It's like, yes, you're serving God one way or another, awesome. But then when it comes to financial crisis or whatnot, you start to become worried and you're like, why? How am I gonna, no. You cannot allow those sense of anxieties to get to you, because that's when the enemy will take that opportunity to really make you doubt your faith and your trust and your hope in God. Definitely. So don't allow yourself to be in that spot of feeling anxious and feeling that sense of anxiety and being fearful that God's not with you. God is always with you. He's always with each and every one of us. We have to allow ourselves to know and to trust in God's timing, because God can see what's happening. Hence the pandemic. Okay, God's not sipping on a pina colada at home or sipping on a fruity drink at home, like up there in heaven. No, he could see everything. He can see everything. We don't need to become frustrated, because those are noise. Those are distractions that the enemy will love to feed upon. So that's why we cannot allow ourselves to have that sense of lukewarmness in our interior life. Like, yes, you can be all exterior, but then your interior life needs more work, right? It needs to be the same. Like, if you're reflecting Christ out there, that means your interior self needs to be aligned. It can't be two separate levels. Let's really close off too, guys. We need to be ready. We need to be ready to accept those times of discomfort in our life during those times of poverty, right? The Christian poverty. And that way you will become more united to Jesus himself. We need to be ready. Always ready. Because you never know when God's timing is like, done. The time is now. Whether you're ready or not. Not in a sense that God's like, all hatred and whatnot to you. No. God only does that because he sees the potential in each and every one of us. He does. Therefore, when he has his perfect timing for you to improve and for you to be pruned and for you to become more purified, it's God's timing. So therefore, always be ready, so that in this time of discomfort and those times of trials and tribulations, you will be more united to Jesus than ever. So never feel like God's punishing you. Never feel that way. Like, yes, we are sinners. Definitely, for sure, we are. Therefore, go to confession. When you know you did something wrong, don't allow that branch to be snapped off away from God. You know, always try to always find ways to really keep that branch solidified to God all the time. You know, and because really, like, God's the vine and we're the branches. You know, you don't want to be that branch snapped off and burned somewhere down in hell. So, you know, allow yourself to feel those times of discomfort, those times of waiting, those times of just waiting and waiting for God's perfect timing. You know, so that's why I keep on saying in all my videos, when you say a prayer intention or any of your prayers so fervently, praying for something so fervently, you know, about person, social person, about family, your vocation, your job, always end it with according to God's timing. I place all my hope and all my confidence, all my faith in God's timing. And from that point on, it's truly a game changer to me, at least, because it really helped me a lot to grow in my virtue of patience over the course of time, especially in this pandemic, right? So even more so during this even more so during this pandemic, just really pray about those around you and allow yourself to be more prudent about those around you, you know, and allowing yourself to grow in virtue during that time as well, right? Because prayer is great. It's awesome, right? But, you know, just praying about yourself, yes, it's one, but you gotta think about others too. You know, you gotta pray for those around you. You gotta pray for those out there that you don't know. Frontline workers and whatnot, those in the healthcare industry, those living in the nursing homes, those in school. You know, so really offer up your intentions for them as well during this time, so that, you know, God can really see the love that you're showing to not only for him, but you're showing that love to those around you as your way of showing your love to God himself. So really we have to be able to reject materialism, you know, because it will help others. And when you're showing yourself as an example of following Christ through the various actions that you do, it will help others. It will inspire others to do the exact same thing. And it will inspire others to not become lukewarm in their faith as well. And especially inspiring others to not waste this time that God's permitting for us to really focus ourselves on God and focus on what's more important, and that everything in this world will perish. So, following Christ, it's awesome. It's not an easy journey, but it's worth it. Because remember, nothing of this world can compare to what the heavenly rewards are when we really allow ourselves to persevere for Christ. It's true. The saints can definitely attest to that. And now they're having a party with Jesus Christ out there. And you want to as well. So, there you have it. I hope and pray that you be well during this time. Stay fervent, stay prudent, persevere all the time. And with that said, and as I always love saying in all my videos, don't be afraid to be true warriors of Christ.